Hey everyone, welcome back to Women Prison Stories. Tonight, I'm taking you inside a prison block where silence is deadly and betrayal hides in plain sight. The first sound was the slam of the steel door, a sound that always cut through my bones like a blade. After years inside, you'd think I'd get used to it. But that night, when the door echoed down D Block, something felt wrong. Roll call had just started. They were reading out names, the same way they did every night, the same rhythm, the same shuffle of boots and coughs in the silence. But when they called Maya Hernandez, nothing answered back. No voice at all, just silence. And somehow, that silence was louder than the door. The guard, Sullivan, repeated her name. Still nothing. A second time, sharper, like a whip. But the bunk was empty. Maya was gone. Now, in prison, a missing inmate isn't just a problem. It's a spark in a room soaked with gasoline. Every head in the block turned. Some women smirked like they knew something. Others froze, eyes wide, calculating what it meant. And me, I felt the air shift. Heavy, dangerous. Because when someone disappears in here, it never ends clean. My name's Riley. I was 3 years into an 8-year bid for armed robbery. Wrong time, wrong guy, wrong decision. Though in here, everyone's got a story. Mine boiled down to loyalty to a man who would have left me bleeding in a ditch if it meant saving his own skin. Prison taught me fast. Loyalty is just another kind of currency. Sometimes it buys you protection. Sometimes it buys your silence. But it always comes with interest. Maya, she wasn't the type you'd expect to vanish. She kept her head down, worked in laundry, never mouthed off. 26 years old, slim, quiet, skin-inked with faded tattoos that hinted at a rougher past she never talked about. We weren't close, but in a place like this, you didn't have to be close to notice someone. And Maya had been noticed. That night, the block buzzed like an overcharged wire. Guards locked us in, alarms blared, radios crackled, but none of us could sleep. The questions hummed in the air. How the hell did she get out? Who helped her? And most dangerous of all, what would happen to the rest of us now? I lay on my bunk, staring at the ceiling, the concrete cool against my fingertips. My cellmate, Janelle, lit a cigarette she wasn't supposed to have, the smoke curling under the flickering bulb. She smirked through the haze. Guess little Maya found herself a magic door. I shot her a look. Ain't no magic here. Then somebody opened it for her. Janelle exhaled, eyes glittering. And that means someone in this block is about to bleed for it. She wasn't wrong. In here, you didn't escape unless somebody wanted you gone. The search tore through the prison like a storm. Guards ripped mattresses, flipped trays, dragged women from bunks. Dogs snarled through the yard while helicopters swept the forest outside. The smell of bleach burned my nose as they scrubbed every corner, like they could wash her ghost away. But what got me wasn't the search. It was the whispers. In the yard, women huddled in clusters, trading theories like cigarettes. She had a guard helping her. No, she slipped through laundry tunnels. Heard she never left at all. They're hiding her in the basement. And every whisper ended the same way. Someone's gonna pay. Because in prison, nothing happens alone. If Maya was gone, then someone still here made it happen. A week earlier, I'd noticed Sullivan watching her during roll call. Not the kind of watching you'd want. The kind that made your skin crawl. He was a stocky guard, mid-40s, always sweating like the uniform weighed more on him than anyone else. Guys like him didn't look at inmates like people, more like pieces of property. And Maya, she never met his eyes, never spoke when he was near. But I saw the way her jaw clenched when he walked past, the way her hands curled into fists when she thought no one was looking. So when she disappeared, my gut told me this wasn't her escape. This was her erasure. But prison didn't care about truth. The night after the disappearance, They pulled half our block into the cafeteria for questioning. The air stank of burnt coffee and sweat, chairs screeching on tile as women sat under buzzing fluorescent lights. Sullivan walked past each table, slamming his clipboard down, demanding names. When he got to me, his eyes lingered too long. "You see Maya talking to anyone before she went missing?" I shook my head. "No. You sure about that?" He leaned closer, breath sour with tobacco. I held his stare, even though my chest tightened. "She didn't talk much. Everyone knows that." For a long moment, he studied me, waiting for something. Then he smirked, scribbled on his clipboard, and moved on. But I knew I'd just stepped into something I couldn't walk back out of. That night, lying in the dark, I heard it, a sound from the vent above my bunk. At first, I thought it was the pipes, a rattle, a hiss. But then, clear as breath against my ear, a whisper. "Riley." I sat up so fast my head hit the bunk frame. My heart pounded. It was Maya's voice. "Riley, don't trust." And then it cut out. I froze, palms clammy, staring at the vent like it could answer me. Janelle stirred beside me, muttering in her sleep, but I knew what I heard. Maya wasn't gone. At least, not yet. That whisper haunted me all night. I lay awake, staring at the vent, waiting for it to come again. But it didn't. The cell was just as it always was, stale air, faint stink of bleach, the weight of Janelle's snores rumbling against the thin mattress springs. And yet I couldn't shake it. I had heard Maya. Not imagined, not dreamed. Heard. Her voice, soft but urgent, warning me, "Don't trust." But don't trust who? The next morning, Chow was a circus. The guards were on edge, eyes darting like they were ready for a riot. The line to the cafeteria crawled, and the smell of powdered eggs turned my stomach. Women whispered behind trays, passing theories like contraband. "She's dead. They buried her in the yard." "No, she's in the tunnels." I heard her voice. "Girl, don't be stupid. Ghosts don't whisper." The last one made me pause, because I hadn't told anyone what I heard. Not even Janelle. Yet someone else had. Janelle caught my look as we sat at our table in the corner. She was chewing slow, eyes cutting toward me. "You're jumpy as hell," she muttered, low so the guards wouldn't hear. I shrugged, stabbing at the eggs. "Aren't you? Half the block thinks we're next." "I ain't worried." Janelle leaned back, cigarette tucked behind her ear, even though smoking in Chow was a fast way to lose your privileges. Maya wasn't as invisible as she thought. I seen her talking in laundry when no one was supposed to, slipping notes. Might be she had something lined up. Her words prickled. "Notes to who?" Janelle smirked. "Why do you care so much?" I froze with my fork halfway to my mouth. Because she was right, I was showing my hand. And in prison, showing interest was as dangerous as showing weakness. After Chow, they herded us back to D Block. The halls reeked of disinfectant, that sharp chemical burn that made your nose ache. The guards were tearing apart cells again, searching for scraps of information. When they came to ours, Sullivan stepped in himself. I felt the hair on my neck rise. He flipped Janelle's mattress first, scattering papers, shoving a boot under the bunk. She didn't move, just smirked like she enjoyed watching him sweat. Then he turned to mine, pulled apart the blanket, shoved my books off the shelf, kicked at the vent. The vent. My chest clenched. For a second, I swore he knew, swore he'd heard what I had. His hand lingered on the metal, tapping it lightly. The sound echoed like a heartbeat. Then, just as quick, he moved on, scrawling something on his clipboard. Before he left, his eyes locked with mine. A long, slow stare that said, "I'm watching you." That night, I made up my mind. If Maya was alive, if she was really somewhere in this prison, I had to know. Because if the guards weren't looking for her anymore, it meant they already knew where she was. And if they weren't telling us, it meant she wasn't supposed to be found. So I waited until lights out. Janelle was snoring already, one arm slung across her face. I climbed onto the desk under the vent. The screws were old, rusted. I twisted one loose with the edge of a toothbrush I'd sharpened for weeks. The grate groaned as it came off. Dust choked my throat. I pressed my ear close. Nothing at first. Just air rushing, faint clinks of pipes. Then a sound. Not words, not a whisper, but a rhythm. A tapping, like knuckles against metal. 2 taps. Pause. 2 taps again. I froze. My chest thumped, so hard I thought it might echo too. I tapped back just once, and the tapping stopped. The next morning, Maya's bunk was stripped bare. No sheets, no mattress, nothing. Just cold steel. They'd wiped her away like she'd never been there. But I couldn't forget. That day in the yard, the air thick with cigarette smoke and wet leaves from the forest beyond the fence. I asked around. Quiet, careful. Too many questions could earn you a shank in the ribs. Finally, I got something from Danny, a lifer with tattoos that snaked up her neck like ivy. She leaned against the chain link, eyes narrow. You're asking dangerous things, Riley. I just want to know if she's alive. Danny chuckled without humor. Alive ain't the word. Trapped, maybe. Buried. Sullivan's got a cage under the basement. For the ones who don't play along. My blood ran cold. What kind of cage? The kind nobody comes back from. She spat, turned, and walked off. That night, the whisper came again. Riley, help. It was faint, strained, like it cost her everything to say it. Where? I whispered back, barely moving my lips. Silence. Then the tapping returned. This time 3 knocks, slow, deliberate. Janelle stirred. The hell you doing? I jumped, pulling back from the vent. Nothing. Go back to sleep. She eyed me hard in the dark, and I realized too late. She'd heard it too. The pressure built over the next days. Guards swarmed less, but eyes watched more. Whispers spread faster than contraband. And I started noticing Janelle slipping away during work detail, coming back with that sly grin. One night, she leaned in close, her voice low. You ain't the only one who hears her. My breath caught. What do you mean? She smirked, lighting her hidden cigarette. Means maybe I know more than you think. And maybe Maya didn't escape. Maybe she got herself caught. Her words twisted in my gut. Was she saying Maya planned this? That the disappearance was a setup? Why tell me? I asked. Because you're in it now, Riley. Whether you like it or not. She blew smoke toward the ceiling, eyes glittering in the dark. And when the time comes, you better pick the right side. The following week, roll call was different. The officer's voice cracked as he read the names, sharp and hurried. When he hit mine, I answered. When he hit Maya's, the silence stretched. And then, for the first time since she disappeared, someone answered. Here. The voice was faint, muffled, but it was hers. The block went dead silent. Guards spun, flashlights slicing through the darkness, searching for the source. But Maya wasn't standing in line. She wasn't anywhere we could see. She was inside the walls. The chaos that followed was like nothing I'd ever lived through. Guards screaming, inmates shoved to the floor, boots stomping, radios hissing. But through it all, one thought burned through my skull. Maya was alive. Somewhere in this prison, hidden in pipes and vents and cages no one admitted existed. She was alive. And somehow, she'd chosen me to hear her. But why me? And what was I supposed to do now? The block never recovered after that night. I'll never forget the sound. Maya's voice cutting through the roll call silence. Just one word, steady but hollow. Here. It cracked something in the room. Guards shoved us against the walls, flashlights stabbing every shadow, radios squawking like dying birds. Inmates dropped their eyes, whispering prayers or curses. But nothing was found. No body, no figure, just her voice, drifting from nowhere and everywhere. And I was the only one who knew exactly where it came from. The vents. That night, I couldn't close my eyes. Janelle watched me from her bunk, cigarette glowing like a predator's eye in the dark. "You heard it too," she said finally. I didn't answer. "Don't act like you didn't. She's in there. The walls. The tunnels. Sullivan's got her on a leash. And somehow she slipped it." Janelle leaned closer, lowering her voice to a hiss. "The question is, why is she talking to you?" I forced myself to breathe slow, steady. "I don't know." Janelle smirked, tapping ash into a stolen cup. "You will." 2 days later, they locked us down. Full day in our cells, meals shoved through the slot. The air stank of sweat and metal, like a cage full of feral animals. Distant screams echoed, not from our block, but another wing. Sullivan came down the tier that afternoon, keys jangling, boots loud. He stopped at my cell. "Riley." My gut clenched. He studied me for a long moment, pale eyes unreadable. Then he said, "Keep your head down." That was it. He moved on. But the warning was worse than a threat, because it meant he knew something. That night, the tapping returned. 3 knocks, a pause, then 2. I scrambled to the vent, whispering, "Maya?" A faint rasp answered. "Riley, listen, basement." My chest went ice cold. "Where in the basement?" Before she could answer, the vent in Janelle's bunk rattled. Her laugh slithered through the dark. "Knew it. You're her little messenger." I froze. "You've been hearing her this whole time." Janelle's grin glowed in the dim light. "Course I have. Difference is, I know what to do with it." "What do you mean?" She leaned back, eyes gleaming. "Means if Maya wants out, she better give us something. You don't survive in here by helping ghosts. You survive by making deals." Her words made me sick, but part of me knew she was right. The basement. I'd only been there once on a cleaning shift. Cold concrete, pipes dripping, the air thick with mildew. Old storage rooms no one used anymore. Or so they claimed. If Maya was down there, she wasn't supposed to be. I spent the next 2 days watching Sullivan. He disappeared at odd hours, not on rounds, not during shifts. Sometimes with a folder under his arm. Sometimes with nothing at all. Always heading toward the basement stairs. And every time, I felt Maya's voice pressing at the edges of my skull. The chance came during laundry duty. Janelle and I were hauling sacks when the guard got called away to break up a fight. For 5 minutes, we were alone in the hall by the basement door. Janelle's eyes flicked to mine. No words, just understanding. She slipped a bobby pin from her hair, crouched at the lock. A quiet click later, the heavy door groaned open. The stench hit us immediately. Damp stone, rust, and something sour beneath it. We crept down the stairs, the air colder with every step. Pipes rattled overhead, carrying echoes from God knows where. My heart hammered so loud, I swore it would give us away. At the bottom, a narrow corridor stretched into black. And then we heard it, a cough, wet, ragged, human. We found her. Maya sat in a cage barely taller than she was. Iron bars welded into the wall, chains hanging like teeth. Her wrists were raw, her eyes sunken but burning. "Riley." Her voice cracked like glass. I dropped to my knees. "Jesus. Maya. What did they do to you?" "Doesn't matter. Get me out." Janelle stood behind me, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "Told you she was here." Maya's gaze shot to her. "Don't trust her." The same words from the whisper. The warning. I turned, heart twisting. "Janelle." But footsteps thundered above. Boots. Radios. Someone was coming. Panic surged. "Keys." I hissed, scanning the room. "There has to be keys." Janelle didn't move, didn't even look. Sullivan's voice boomed down the stairwell. "What the hell are you doing down there?" My blood turned to ice. Maya clutched the bars, her eyes locked on mine. "Don't let them." The door slammed open. Light flooded the corridor. Sullivan stormed in, 2 guards behind him. His face was pure fury. "You don't belong here." He dragged me up by the arm, slammed me against the wall. His breath reeked of coffee and smoke. "You think you can fix this? You think you can save her?" Behind him, Maya screamed, "Riley, don't let them bury me again." But Janelle didn't scream. She didn't fight. She just watched calm as stone, as if she'd expected all of this. And that's when I realized she had. They hauled me out cuffed tight, threw me back into D block. No charges, no hearing, just confinement. But I knew the truth now. Maya hadn't escaped. She'd been silenced, hidden, and Janelle had been the one feeding Sullivan every step I took. Weeks passed. Maya's name stopped being called. Her bunk filled with a new inmate. The whispers faded. But at night, sometimes when the vents rattled, I swore I still heard her. Not words anymore, just the faintest scrape, the echo of someone alive inside the walls, refusing to be forgotten. And every time, I felt Janelle's eyes on me in the dark, like she was waiting for me to choose, for me to decide whether I'd survive like her, by betrayal, or vanish like Maya, buried in the silence of this place. The day they lined us up for roll call again, the officer's voice cracked as he read, "Riley, here." My voice shook, but it was steady enough. Then he read Maya's name. Silence. Not even a whisper this time. The silence stretched, thick as chains. And in that silence, I finally understood. The most dangerous thing in this prison wasn't Maya's escape. It was the fact that she had ever tried.